Keeping your bike running in top condition can be really satisfying. So these are our essential maintenance tips and when to do them. So something I'll do after every ride. Well, first thing I'll do is clean it. Mine's nice and clean as long as you don't look too closely. And once it's clean, give that chain a nice dry. Run it through a rag for a little while. Get the worst of the water off there, and then what I'll do is put some WD-40 or GT85, something like that, really light oil through it, and again run the chain through the rag and get it as dry as you possibly can. Then it's time for our first essential maintenance tip, is to lube your chain. Depending on where you ride and the season of the year, try and choose the lube that will best suit that. I've got some ceramic wet chain lube on because it's horrible conditions in the UK at the moment, so I'll use a nice thick lube on there. I always lube it down here by the jockey wheel, the lower jockey wheel of the rear mech, and just drop it in from the top. That way the oil will sit in here and it'll work its way into the chain. If you're using a spray lube, be very careful about getting it on your rear disc brake. But I'm just using this thick liquid and just dropping it in the top of the chain. To be honest, I like to go really carefully with that. Don't put too much on. If you put loads of that on, your chain will get all black as all the dirt and the muck sticks to it, and that acts like grinding paste on your cassette, and that can wear it out quicker. So I like to go quite light on it and not use much lube at all. So if I run the chain through my fingers, you see you get a minimal amount of nice clean lube on my finger, and the chain's nice and shiny. So it's clean and it's minimally lubed. That is ready to roll. Something else that I'll check after every ride is my brakes. More specifically, I'll check that the brake pads have plenty of material left on them. It's good to keep an eye on that so you can just order the pads, you know, so that you don't have to miss any riding times. You plan exactly when you need to change them. I'll also spin the wheel and make sure my disc is running centrally through the pads and it's running nice and straight to make sure that I haven't whacked that disc and damaged it. If your brakes have squealed when you're out riding, then you can check out our video on how to fix that. A link to that will be in the description down below. Contamination can do that, there's a few other things, so check that video out and you can fix that problem. Another essential tip is to bleed your hydraulic brakes. It depends on the make of those brakes to how regularly you'll need to do those. Some are more fussy than others and need bleeding a bit more regularly because they start to feel a bit rubbish. But I'd say a couple of times a year is probably about right. They'll also need bleeding if the lever doesn't feel consistent. If it pulls in a lot and the next time it doesn't pull in very much, that's a sign that there's some air in there. So get that air out of there, but also some fresh fluid in there once or twice a year will make the brake feel nice and new. Something I'll keep an eye on when I'm riding is the condition of my gear cables. It's something that you'll start to feel through your thumbs when you're shifting. If it starts to feel like there's a lot of friction in that shifter, then it's probably time to change your cables. Also, a sure sign of that is your gear changes start to get sluggish and it might take a little bit of time to go up or down the block. So that's not a very nice feeling. Time to change those gear cables. It's hard to put a number on it, but I'd say probably somewhere between 20 and 40 rides I'll do that. Getting those gear changes nice and crisp and fast will make a big difference to how your bike feels. In the mid-term, other consumables I'd check would be tyres and grips. You probably wear your tyres out quicker than your grips, I think, so keep an eye on those. A worn out tyre will puncture easier and obviously it won't grip quite as well, so change those when needed. In summertime, I don't mind running a slightly worn tyre on the rear because it'll roll quite quickly, but in the winter, I'll make sure I've got pretty fresh rubber on there the whole time. Bearings, they're all over the place. So check those regularly. Headset, just feel for any roughness or any vibration in there. Front wheel, you can just hold your fork leg and spin the wheel. It spins nice and freely and there's no roughness in there at all. Pedals, give them a spin. They shouldn't spin wildly and make horrible noise. They spin nice and freely. Bottom bracket, rear wheel obviously, just things to keep an eye on. Also bushes in your shock if you have full suspension bike. Our last essential maintenance tip is to check and replace your drivetrain. We've actually done a video on checking and replacing your chain already, so check that one out. Link will be in the description down below. But something at GMBN we talk about in those videos quite a bit is replacing your chain before it's too worn out. Therefore, you can save a bit of money on having to replace your cassette. and your chainring at the same time. But eventually you will have to do that. To check the condition of your chainring, just have a quick look at it and make sure they're nice and uniform, the teeth on there, and they're not like shark fins or really low and worn. And to actually replace your chainring, it's normally easier to take your cranks off the bike, so check your manufacturer's instructions for that. And then it's simply just to remove these 4 or 5 bolts, depending on the make of your cranks. The chainring will come off and replace it with a new one. So there you go, there's some essential tips to keep your bike riding sweet and keep you out on the trail. And if you want to see more maintenance videos, you can click up there for how to check your drivetrain for wear, or you can click down there for our maintenance playlist where we've done loads of other cool videos on keeping your bike in tip-top condition. If you haven't done already, just click on me and my bright yellow GT to subscribe to GMBN. It's free.